Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this presentation by members of Syracuse's Near Westside Teen Research Team. In this presentation, they will be presenting the process and findings from their research that they have been working on for the past 2 years. 3 members of the teen team will be making the presentation. Their names are Maddie, Jai, and Nikki. Through their research results, they will be shining a light on some issues that affect their lives and the lives of everyone who lives, works, and visits their neighborhood. At the end of the presentation, you will have the opportunity to send us your comments and answer some questions that we have for you.
Hi, I'm Jalicia from the ESF Near Westside Teen Research Team. I also have Maddie and Nikki with me today, and together we'll be talking about the research we've done as well as the rest of our team over the course of about 2 years. For this project, we collaborated with SUNY-ESF and the Peacemaking Center. We were contacted by flyers, social media posts, and word of mouth by anyone that knew about the opportunity, such as Leah and other people from the Peacemaking Center and the Mundy Branch Library. Other team members from year 1 ranged from ages 13 to 19. Most were in middle school and high school, but a couple of team members had already graduated. CNCS, or the Corporation for National and Community Service, is part of AmeriCorps, who is a federally funded civic community service agency. The purpose of our project is to foster civic engagement and youth leadership through participatory research and placemaking. Participatory research is a broad term to denote approaches that focus on collaborative knowledge production, co-learning, social change, capacity building, and strengthening communities. Knowledge is produced jointly between social researchers and a group of people or community for the goal of addressing the community concerns with practical solutions. With participatory research, the process of conducting research is as important as the research outcome, and there is mutual benefit for all partners. Participants are actively engaged in the research and action process and gain skills and knowledge that can bring about individual or collective change. Participatory research is research where the researchers are community members or someone who is typically a participant and not the researcher themselves. We think it's important for the community to know that we are not just coming in and taking control of the neighborhood, but that we are a part of it and not just watching from the sidelines. This research project has been a great opportunity for youth leadership, since we don't have many programs in Syracuse for youth that pertain to leadership or programs that aren't just seen as a place you go to leave your kids there for a while. This was different because as teens we really had full control over what we did and we were all leaders. It wasn't like the supervising adults leading us and telling us what to do the whole time. As a team, we've been working together for almost 3 years. During year 1, we were coming up with research questions and topics, as well as conducting research. We also began analyzing the data from our research at the end of year 1. In year 2, we finished analyzing the data, came up with an action plan, and executed the action plan. For year 3, we plan to circulate the information from our research as another part of our action plan.
Now we are going to introduce to you our research process. Our first step was to form our research team.
Recruitment of team members took place through kitchen table talks at the Peacemaking Center or at someone's home. We found out about it from friends as well as information at Mundy Library, the Peacemaking Center, Boys and Girls Club, and Missio Church. Before we could do anything, we had to team build. As team members, we did icebreakers and paired up in groups to get to know each other and build strong connections within our groups. We developed ground rules like arrive on time and give notice if you are going to be late. Then Martin and Tina taught us what researching is and about participatory action research. The team came together and discussed the main issues in the community and what we can do to help develop the project's focus. Here are some examples of the team building activities we used to get to know each other in a fun way. With the Skittles game, we learned about what team members like, such as their favorite color, movie or book, and got to eat candy at the same time. We used the newspaper dog activity to learn how to work as a team and created funny dog sculptures. Social styles helped us see how individual strengths could contribute to teamwork. We had to learn about ethical research behavior before we started the process. We learned about who is considered a vulnerable population and could not participate, and how to ask questions without influencing someone's response. We learned about past problems with research and why research ethics are important to protect human subjects. This is the same training required for all levels of researchers that involve people in their research work. Some of the first things we talked about were neighborhood strengths and challenges. Previous kitchen table talks with community members and from our recruitment highlighted neighborhood strengths such as a tight-knit community where people know each other, a place where family members are close by, there's a diversity of residents, there's many resources in the neighborhood such as the Peacemaking Center and the Huntington Family Center, and there's also a lot of activities for children and youth. It's important to know community strengths to help build them up farther and also use them to build up other parts of the Syracuse community.
Information came from the kitchen table talks, the adult ones in the neighborhood, and recruited ones for the team research members. Primary research topics came from the team recruitment kitchen table talks. We want to understand the community and challenges so that we know what needs to be done and changed and improved, and what we might want to investigate and study. The main community challenges we found are fear of crime and violence. Some people are afraid to go out of their homes. Conflicted relationships. This includes neighbor to neighbor, disagreements, and police community members in relationships. Degraded physical conditions, including sidewalks, vacant homes, litter, unclean streets, maybe due to people not caring or paying attention. Poverty and poor economic conditions. Our next step was to develop research questions and methods. Before we could go and talk to the participants, we had to go through the research training and try different methods. And the methods we tried out were interviews, storytelling, photo voice, and mapping surveys. We tried a number of methods for our research and decided to use interview, mapping, storytelling, and surveys. Now I want to introduce the topics we decided to study, which were about the effects of crime and violence and conditions of the physical environment. This is something that has affected a lot of people in the community, but we also wanted people to see that our community has many strengths and there are good things going on in the community. We also wanted youth and other people to see the effects of violence. It could have a long-lasting effect and people will remember them. We thought that the physical conditions of the neighborhood have also affected the lives and quality of life of a lot of the people in the community. Many people don't have cars and have to walk everywhere and take the bus. The sidewalks are in poor conditions and so are the houses. People are forced to walk on the streets, many people with wheelchairs and strollers because of the poor conditions of the sidewalks. We developed 3 different research questions. For each specific research questions, we chose and developed 3 different methods. We use individual interviews to help us understand how social media affects how people view crime and violence in the neighborhood. We use mapping, brainstorming, and storytelling in a focus group setting to ask questions about how crime and violence affects community members' lifestyles. While developing research methods, we tested using photo voice to investigate how different elements and features of the neighborhood contribute to the feelings of safety. However, there were too many barriers for us to use this method. We did ask questions, and this was our focus in the focus group. Before we could carry out the research activities, we had to find participants and organize focus groups. We focused on gathering participants that were from the near Westside or had some other connection to it, like they live, work, or spend time there. These people who know about or have influences in the neighborhood. Before we could ask questions or do any activities, we had the participants sign a consent form. This was to protect their privacy, let them know the purpose of the research, and approximately 45 to 50 people participated. We met with a couple of groups at Huntington Family Center, including a parents group and some teenagers. Huntington provides service for youth and families and senior citizens, helping all around the community. Project Advisory Committee, we had a small group of adults from different agencies and organizations who provided guidance on our research questions and methods by serving as a test participants. The teens gathered their friends and family because we wanted to know what teens of the community thought on our topic. Teachers and parents, teen members, Recruitment several teachers as well as one or two parents to take part in a session at Monday Branch Library. Peacemakers, the Peacemaking Center, where we held most of our meetings, arranged a focus group and interviewers with volunteers from the peacemaking group. Community Impact Team is based within the Peacemaking Center organization. Projects to improve the neighborhood. Several members from this group participated in our research activities. Police officers, the team wanted to talk to some police officers on their thoughts and ideas of the community and to confirm some of our project data. Mundy Library staff. Mundy Library is an important community resource, gathering place, and a place of employment. Several staff members participated in interview and other mapping and brainstorming activities.
The annual Skiddy Park Multicultural Block Party in the summer of 2019, our research team members asked brief survey questions to community members. We got response from 60 to 70 attendees. We also shared snacks and school supplies with kids and had a poster asking community members to write down what they love about the near Westside. It was a fun event and it was great outreach for our program.
After discussing as a group, we confirmed that the data was telling us and then how to put it into a document form. Carrying out the research, we had to either gather information, then once we were done, the team had to analyze the data. As a team, we all organized and coded the data to what we thought as individual came out in the data and stood out to us, then we came together to review and discuss the coding, then came up with themes that went along with the data.
These images show participants working together to map places they go on a regular basis. They also mapped places they felt safe or unsafe and described why. Now we'll move on to our research findings. This is an example of mapping used to identify locations where participants frequently go. We also asked people where they felt safe on the near west side and why. As you can see on the poster, there are clusters of programs, services, and schools where people mentioned they felt safe. Most of the places that people mentioned are in the northern section and along Geddes Street. There are a lot of programs and services in the neighborhood, but all of those mentioned are in the northern part except for the Mundy Library. Corner stores are mentioned by participants, but there are no larger grocery stores in the neighborhood. There are 4 schools in the neighborhood, and several of these were identified as places participants thought were safe. People found that factors such as time of day, people you know, and the activity occurring played a role in whether they felt safe or unsafe in an area. People would feel safer going somewhere during the day when there's people around, opposed to going to that same place alone at night. We received public GIS data, which is Geographic Information System data, from police officers at the Tomorrow's Neighborhoods Today meeting in December 2019. We got data for all of 2019 from this. As you can see on the slide, there are 3 different diagrams, all labeling and identifying different crimes that occurred on the near West Side for that year. We met with a police officer for an interview and showed her the data from the previous posters. The officer verified factors of safe spaces such as time of day, relationships and people you know, activities occurring, and people involved. This data came from us asking the question of what are the factors or characteristics that influence where you feel safe or unsafe in a neighborhood. Between the different posters, we found a possible correlation between spaces and areas in the neighborhood people felt safe compared to the police data about crimes in the neighborhood. The correlation we think we may have found is places people felt safe were places crime rates weren't as high as other places. One of the activities we facilitated during community workshops was to ask community members if they had any stories about experiences they had with neighborhood crime and violence. We analyzed the stories provided by community members and organized them into 6 major themes. 2 common themes we found from the stories was that crime and violence occurs in many forms and places. Many of the stories occurred in different places in Syracuse and the near West Side neighborhood, such as people's homes or public places. We also saw that the stories were about a variety of events or crimes. This included stolen cars, crashing into people's yards, drug raids that damaged people's homes and food, and shootings at events like parks and close to schools. People living in fear and lifestyle changes are also themes we found from the stories. The crime and violence from these stories resulted in people living in fear of their safety and the safety of others, as well as lifestyle changes like gathering with family and community members less. Crime and violence has also caused a loss of trust in others, like police, neighbors, and other community members. Despite the negative effects crime and violence has had on the community, we've also found strengths within it. Hardship unites people, which builds strength even during the toughest times.
Research partners Nikki and Savannah developed a series of questions to ask people they interviewed. They started by asking participants if they used social media, and if so, what type they used. If not, they asked how they got their news and information. They asked participants about the types of things they heard or saw and their reaction to social media use. Once the interviews were completed, Savannah and Nikki organized the responses in a spreadsheet and did the initial coding of the data. They shared that with the rest of the group to get their input, and together we refined the coding and prepared memos.
We coded the data, 5 themes emerged. The themes came from the ways that our research participants talked about their use of social media. I will explain each theme using direct quotes from participants. Participants said that positive messages and images on social media like memes, cute dogs, quotes, graduation pictures, and baby pictures inspire people. Participants also said that social media, especially Facebook, could be better used to share useful information to boost community skills, like how to interview for a job, learn about ethics. Social media could also provide access to information we did not have before and make people more aware of things like neighborhood and community events. Participants also said that social media is a really great way to connect with people and is a way for people to stay in touch with friends, family, and community groups. Participants emphasized that the near West Side is a collaborative place where people could work together instead of separately, so people can use social media to get people involved and connected. For example, the near West Side has a strong Spanish population who are family-oriented, and this is a community strength and message worth sharing. Some people we interviewed described being addicted to their phone and using social media all the time. Parents we interviewed said that they try to influence children use of social media by setting their kids up with the proper knowledge of right and wrong. But teens are also influenced by what they see on social media. The drama on social media is an everyday topic of conversation with people on the near West Side. Participants said that the drama on social media often encourage more drama that can result in more violence. Seeing drama and violence on social media makes people worried about going outside, especially at night, and would rather stay in home, which could reduce people's participation in the community. We heard that social media can also influence the promote stereotypes like everyone from the near West Side either sold drugs or doing drugs. The way people use social media can end up labeling a whole community as a result, the near West Side gets labeled as a place with crime and violence instead of the community with caring and active family and organizations. We found people also use Facebook to motivate and influence people regardless positive things going on in their community. Our last theme demonstrates how posts about violence like shooting, robbing people, jealousy, breaking into cars, stabbing people, selling drugs, and drama and conflicts like videos of fighting, arguing, or posts that were attention seeking. People are talking junk and talking nasty spread the negative aspect of the near West Side neighborhood. Facebook Live is a place where people can view fights, start fights, or continue fights. This spreading of violence acts and images influence people's sense of safety of the near West Side. Since the social media spreads mostly negative news about the near West Side, we could use social media to spread the positive news. Several people we interviewed talked about success stories like kids graduating from high school, going to college, working, and the good gestures that humans do for each other, like helping others out with something as simple as carts at the grocery store or buying drinks for someone or helping the homeless. Social media users see more good than bad on Facebook but tend to focus on and worry about the negative stuff, so they suggest that we need to focus more on the good. So our team wonders, what if more people use social media to inspire others and to share positive information?
The team is developing an action plan that will help support our research and show the community we are determined to make positive change. We developed some short-term action ideas, including the development of posters that can be displayed in public places as a way to share our community project with the community. This presentation is also a part of our action plan, and we have delivered it virtually to some of our project partners. Another action project we have accomplished is the creation of Gathering Garden, which I'll describe on the next slide. We had planned to hold an action planning workshop, but unfortunately, we have not been able to do that because of COVID. We will continue to ask our partners and other community members for ideas. COVID was a challenge for us. We met virtually from March to August 2020. During that time, we worked on posters to illustrate our process and findings with ESF landscape architect students. In August, we finally were able to meet outside at PMS site to brainstorm action ideas. We spent time talking about action projects to do. We decided to create a place where people could meet outside and feel safe. Being together, a community spot to gather in small groups. We picked the Peacemaking site because of a lot of people said they feel safe at the Peacemaking Center. We were very familiar with it. Our second choice was a small community space across from Mundy Library, which is also a value community space. Maybe that could be for a group to work on in the future.
We've received a final third-year grant from AmeriCorps to complete our original project. Our next steps include working with community members to find ways to spread the word about our project. We are using social media and other online platforms to share our research findings and to recruit new team members to be a part of the Youth Impact Team that builds on what our research has started.
Thanks to Jai, Maddie, and Nikki for providing this overview of the research process and findings. We're continuing to work, and our focus will be on sharing our process and findings to a broader community audience. We invite you to make comments, suggestions, and ask questions. This could include ideas for who else to share this project with, ideas for action projects to build on this research, and suggestions for improvement. You may send those ideas or questions to the email address shown, or use the link to the anonymous survey.